So the U.S. is going to have to lower the rent as much as possible because most of the building infrastructures they're up to date. Some of them are up to date, some of them are not. But in order for the other side of the market economy to le- gain leverage, um, property, for example, it can be debilitated over time. So if the assessment is made of the property, for example, if this property has, been updated, it has been fixed. Some landlords don't fix their properties, and that was a big problem because most of the money that was taken from renters was for that purpose to modernize their building, make the infrastructure better, more solid. It didn't happen, and that's why the law of the Jews was always there. That whoever came into, the person would rent the property, they would pay to remodel the property, fix the property, and then it would be far more stable property. Then it's my home, but I go back and then I live in it. But that didn't happen. They rented the property, they took the money, and then they just lived it out and balled out and did whatever they wanted. But that's not the purpose. The purpose was to make a solid infrastructure, make a solid structure, and then the other rest of the economy can move. And that's what stagnated a good portion of the economy. Like 80% of the economy faltered because of it. Now, and you need to have people who make assessments of buildings properly and say, well, this building property is good. That then people are living, they're working there. Lower their rent. Lower their rent. You go by people who are working, who are making a certain amount of capital. You lower the rent, it fixes other parts of the economy. That's what they need to do. You have to find all the people who are working and that are basically getting high paid salaries. Say lower their rent. Go speak with the rent owner or the landowner, and say, hey, we need this for now, the rent of this property to be lowered because the infrastructure is fine for now. So we need the other part of the economy to function. Combustibles, you know what combustibles are, right? Like Apple. You bought the Apple, then later it just dissipated. So therefore, that person will be able to buy more apples or buy apples for other communities. Now this is functioning other sectors of the community because that sector of the community is reviewed and evaluated, and at the micro level will help them. So yes, we have to fix that sector. So yes, look for people who have high salaries wherever they are renting. Make sure that they are renting. You have to speak with the landowner. Say lower the price, lower the rent, lower the rent. You have the landowners had to lower the rent. If the building is remodeled, now they'll come back and say, well, what about my taxes? Why do I have to pay such high taxes? Right. So once they lower the rent, the other question would be, what about the taxes that I'm facing? I have a big property, and based on the size of my property, is going to be based on the size of my tax. You see? And then what happens? Then the economy stagnates again. So what are some options for the landowner? He will have to speak to the Federalist, or if it's not the Federalist that's running the property, the land, it's the state governance. Then he has to speak to the state governance because they use that tax for other purposes. For example, roads. But because there's such corruption, it might not be for roads, and that's the problem. Because in order for you to generate more income in that sector, you need more roads. How can people get to your location if you don't have the proper roads? Because what you're depending on is traffic. That's what you're depending on. You're depending on traffic. But guess what? Latin America is that traffic. Latin America is the traffic. So we need to build a powerful traffic system from Mexico to right into the US. Because that's the traffic system. We need to have that infrastructure. A big powerful infrastructure for traffic. Yeah. Yes. Those are laboradores, laborers, obreros, skilled laborers. They have different skills. Some of them are educated, some are not. It doesn't matter if they leave Latin America because the economy of the U.S. is modern. It's a modern economy in the U.S. So they work and they live, and then their per capita increases, and then they fix their own personal capital. So then you tackle that sector. But the question then would be, what will happen to the skilled laborer in our home? So not only does the nation state will have to create taxes for for that providence in regards to trans from Latin America into some of the labor sectors that are more modern in the U.S. They're going to have to use those taxes to modernize Latin America. The primary being, transport and transport and business. Yes, transport and business. Because the US is a big hub where it receives different types of clothes and different types of markets. So then that market has to come from their taxes, nation state taxes, to open up businesses in Latin America or improve the businesses in Latin America by technology. Then you had to move currency, I believe. Currency and yes, currency and financial currency. Two separate tiers.